You stupid bitch. Yeah, you're a stupid bitch. You stupid bitch. Welcome to another episode of Stupid Bitches Say What, the Aussie podcast about everything and nothing, but always with wine, and your hosts, Skye Collett and Sean Bino Hipkins.
This week's topic is back in time. Listen in as we banter about what it was like growing up in the 90s. Sean takes us through some of the most cowabunga dude fads of the decade.
Totally tubular, dude. And Skye, well, Skye just reminisces about being a kid. Bless. Now, tell the listeners, what are we drinking tonight, Skye?
Oh, what are we drinking? Well, we're trying a new thing, aren't we? I have been raving. If you listened to all our wine banter in the first season, and also you will know that we catalogued our wines recently. Oh my God, it started. I already had a sip, and recently. So we catalogued our wines recently, and I noticed that one of the wines that I, banged on and on about in the first season, I never actually got around to drinking. And it started my whole love affair with Pinot Gris. Do you remember? You remember this, right?
Yes, yeah.
You don't even remember this, do you? We're drinking this wine because it's a symbolic measure, and you don't even remember the reason why we're drinking this wine.
I remember you saying it was your Pinot Gris turning thing, and then you ordered a bunch of them, and none of them were as good, or something.
No, I ordered a bunch of them, and then I loved them, and I drank them all. And then the second time I went to order a bunch of them, they were out of stock with naked wine, so I couldn't order them. So I waited, and then, as you know, I moved, and so I didn't want to order wines and cart them around, all over the shop. So I waited till I moved into my new house and ordered a bunch. But when I couldn't order the Pinots from Naked, I started trying all the Pinots that I could get my hands on in all the other bottle shops, and they were all bloody horrible. I haven't since found one that I enjoyed. So ordered a bunch again since moving into the new house, brought a bottle down to you on the weekend.
Did, thank you.
So we could share it together and comment on whether or not our palates are on the same page.
With our palates aligned, we can drink the world free of all the wine.
Bring peace back into the regions.
It's like I'm totally
of the wine people. I think that's hilarious. I love it. So over to you, Bina. Oh, actually, I have to say what wine it is. Oh my God, I've banged on and on and on about this wine. I'm not even saying what it is. Okay. For people on YouTube who can see via the video link, and also Spotify, of course, people
we now have videos.
That's right. It's called Gadilli. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Look, it's got a lovely drawing of some faces on there. And it's a Pinot Gris, which I've already mentioned, or a Pinot Gris, if you'd prefer to say it in that manner.
Pinot Gris.
It's from Adelaide.
No, it's definitely a Pinot then.
And it was a peanut. It was made in 2021. So when I was drinking it last year, it was just out of the wine worm.
We do love an infant wine, don't we?
We do love a young toddler.
Baby wine. Baby. All right, we're going to have my sip.
It would be a baby, wouldn't it? Please.
So, hang on, first of all. So when I got said wine, I also got my collection of Stupid Bitch glassware that we got from Tyler for Christmas. So I finally have these in my little handies, big man handies.
So we're full matchy tonight. We're drinking the same wine, and we're drinking out of matching glasses.
Cheers, Tyler.
Charles. Cheers, fiance.
Ooh.
What do you
Zero
think?
tang.
It's got a really mild flavour, and I don't want to put shit on the wine because I'm not saying in a bad way. It's almost watery taste.
Okay, but I was going to say the exact same thing.
But it's not a bad watery taste. Like it's not.
It's like you've had a white wine and you've had a thing of ice in it, and then the ice has melted. But it's nice.
But in a good way, not a diluted way, but in a good
It doesn't taste weak, but it's got flavour, but it tastes watery. I know what you mean. But yeah, I do like it. It's nice. There's no tang. There's no. And I could easily see how you could down a few bottles of these in one sitting.
It's mellow. Would you call it mellow? Is that a good word to describe it, do you think?
I think mellow is very good. I don't know if it's dry. What constitutes a dry wine?
It's I'd say it's a light white wine.
It's not
like it's
sweet.
not well, you wouldn't say it's dry.
I
Oh my
wouldn't
God, listen to us.
I wouldn't say it's got notes of floral or anything.
Certainly not floral. Definitely some loose grapes.
Definitely, there's a few wild grapes in there too.
Maybe some slightly in between sour and sweet grapes.
You know what
along
else
those
came
lines.
from barrels in Adelaide, don't we?
Oh yes. Oh,
Few
how did you
bodies.
bring that into our wine discussion? My goodness. People
Yeah,
are
I
going
like
to be
to
like,
tie in.
no, please. Don't
I-
bring the bodies in the barrel back into it.
I
Please,
know.
I've just got over my nightmares.
I know we have had a bit of feedback about how graphic it was. Look, sorry about that, but I have no regrets.
No, and I don't have any regrets either. I think that it was perfect. And it's, it's the style that we're going for. But yes, I actually find it like quite good that people say, I couldn't listen to it anymore. It's too full on. And it was like, well,
Objective achieved.
toughen up, princess.
Get on to pop culture next.
Yeah. So look, we can't go back and forth with the wine banter because we're drinking the same drink.
It's
and
nice.
The same matching glasses.
Thank you very much.
So really, we just need to move on, don't we, to the topic of the evening.
Me too.
Well, no, let's have a chat about this week. Have we got
Let's
some
go this way.
little tidbits we want to talk about this week? You go first. What would you like to talk about? How's your week been?
First of all, sorry, I'd like to do a little shout out to Colorado in the US. We've been watching our statistics going up from our US listeners, and our listeners in Colorado have now moved to the top of the polls
US
for the
hierarchy.
US. Yeah.
Mm,
Got our most listens from that state. So thank you to whoever you are. Feel free to comment on one of our Insta posts or something so we know who you are.
We'd love to hear from you. Please tell us what you're liking. What's making you keep listening? Message us or comment and tell us what's keeping you going because we'd love to hear and hopefully do more of it for our listeners.
Great. But moving on to the week. So this week, Vinny and I had planned for a couple of months now to just have the week off. The real only significance was that we had our Australia Decides Eurovision, which we'll talk about during What's the Haps, what happened with that. And we're just going to have the week off where we could do things around the house and whatnot. And that all got cut short. Well, all the plans went out the window when we flooded. We were victims of the Brisbane flood. But we were down the Gold Coast for the 2 nights, met you and Tyler there on the Saturday night, and then we were due to stay the Sunday night. But due to the rain and all the flooding that was happening, we were a bit anxious and weren't enjoying being there and wanted to be home with the cats. So we drove up Sunday afternoon, and luckily we did because by Monday, streets were flooded.
Such a good decision that you guys left. I remember when I saw the message saying that you left, I went, oh, really? I can't believe that you left. Like you had all these plans and stuff for the Sunday. And then within like an hour or two, you were like, oh my God, we're completely flooded. And I was like, oh, you must have had a sixth sense about it. I mean, it was pissing down torrentially for days upon days.
And it was just that gut feeling. Like we had a few people telling us, "Oh, just stay the night; it'll be fine." Blah blah blah. But at both of our guts were just
when you know. Yeah.
And it's our cats, which are our kids as well, and we're like, "Oh, we just want to be with them," and blah blah blah. So so we were glad we made that decision, and then we lost power at about 2:30 Monday morning for nearly 40 hours, which was absolute hell.
There is nothing worse, is there not? Like you cannot just live. We're just so reliant on technology, and just your basics like being able to cook stuff. I mean, if you don't have gas though, do you? So
we got a gas stove.
Oh well, that's okay. At least you could have.
That was good. But it was like, we did. I boiled a big pot of water because we're like, I think the water's getting a bit damaged, but we never used it. But it was cold showers. And like, it's one thing when you lose the internet, but when you lose all electricity, we had to go to the pub. It was terrible on Monday and the Tuesday with power boards and all our chargers and just charging up our phone, our iPad, just so we had something. I
saw all the call outs from a lot of places in West End saying, if you need to come and charge a shed, our door is open, like, no fucking questions asked. I was like, well done. Yeah. Because that's what people need, right? To just be able to charge their phone so they can make contact with work and family and
internet. Well, you get cellular data through your phone as well, so you can do that. But and like even banking is all on the phone now as well. So it was great to get that power. But yeah, no, it's good to see, as you said, about the phone charging stations that have been going around, and like what a sign of the times, really, when you think about it. I don't even remember that when the 2011 floods hit, and that was, carnage. And I don't remember seeing phone charge stations or anything. So yeah, it's nice to see
I don't think people were as reliant back then as they are. That's like we're talking. That's 10 years ago. It was nearly 11 years ago, I guess.
Yeah,
10 and a half, something like that.
Well, it was in January, so yeah, 11.
Yeah. So it's sign of our times, definitely.
And the other big thing about this weekend, we have Mardi Gras weekend on down in Sydney. Go the Gays.
I saw one of our friends post about it because the prep's going on, and she was saying
Kylie,
she was saying because her and her daughter are there. How she wants to go next year. I'm making a plan to go.
Yeah,
because she was getting all hyped up in it
from the vibe.
Which would be crazy. Like I worked with a lady at my last job at the council. And she used to go down and volunteer. So she used to go every weekend to Mardi Gras. For years she had done it. Because she said the vibe was insane and she just loved being involved in it. So she went there for no money, paid for her own accommodation, like didn't get paid to volunteer, and just for the experience. And she did it in consecutive. So I worked with her for 4 years, and she did it up until the COVID years. Obviously, she did it every year that I worked with her.
Wow. I've still never done it.
And she'd been doing it for years because she said just being there because like she didn't do CPR or anything like that. She just was in certain places, where they need extra people and hands and whatever. And she said, I meet so many people. I make lifelong friends. I'm still in contact with people I met 10 years ago.
It's a beautiful celebration, isn't it?
Best thing, yeah.
Like it's not all just about throwing
and
gay
she wasn't
down
gay.
your face.
She was a hetero too. She just loved it so much.
Yeah, we know a few straights that go down and do it too. Women mainly. But yeah, have you ever been?
No.
Neither.
I've only done the Pride stuff that we've done in Brisbane.
Yeah.
But no, I would 100% go. I would love it. You know me. I love anything flamboyant with song and dance and costumes.
We should go next year.
I am there. We totally should. We should make a plan to do it and book it all in advance when we can, line it all up.
So what about you? What's been happening in your life this week?
Look, work's been really hectic. So I'm in week 3 of my new job. So, the first 2 weeks where people are sort of training you and when they've got the time and stuff like that, but you're
sort of left on the side.
Yeah. So then I've sort of hit the ground running a little bit, and I'm a bit of a doer. So I'm just like, I'm over it. I can only take so much training and so much hand holding. I'm just like, look, if I make a mistake, I'll apologize later. Let me just have a go. So since I've started doing that, I've had all client meetings a week, so it's been full on. But but the thing I wanted to mention was, and I should have taken a photo when it came, but I got this little note, a little message actually, a couple of days ago saying you've got something coming from Metal Gifts. It's a place in WA, and it's being delivered. And I thought I didn't order anything, and I was like, what have I ordered? Or what has Tyler ordered? What's Link ordered or something? Anyway, so
gift didn't give it away that maybe it was a gift for you.
It did, but I couldn't
totally
think
get
of what kind of gift it was.
Or who it would have been.
Maybe something about the wedding. Like maybe someone sent us a gift, someone who knows they can't come or can't come to the hen site and stuff like that. Anyway, so I thought maybe that's what it is. Anyway, so I went to my sister's place because that's my last known address, really. And we went out for tea last night and she brought it to dinner. And I got to open it, and I opened it, and it was a gift box from my new employer. And so it basically had, bath stuff and room fresheners and chocolates and candles and all that stuff in there. But it was also made, and actually I've got the card here, so I will read it, a little bit of the card. It's made, so it's metal. It's a company in WA, as I mentioned, but the gift was made by survivors of domestic and family violence. Women in our paid training and employment program who are taking the next steps towards the financial security and safe housing they deserve. In receiving this gift, you are directly contributing to their safe and supportive future.
That is awesome.
I know, and I've never gotten a gift for starting a new job. Do you know what I mean? I've never had something on that, and I was just like, I was completely blown away. But they did say, share a pic of your gift and tag people and. Like they want you to promote it. The company, like there's a card.
Show it's a nice place to work.
I ripped into it and chucked it all in the bin before I read the card where it's like, please tag us.
Oh, no.
Say thank you. And it was all in the bin. And I thought, maybe I can put it back together.
It's totally you.
Too hard.
Read the present. You're like Vinny. Open the present first, read the card later. I'm like, read the card first, please.
I did read the card, but there was a lot of information because there was this beautiful message about welcome to the team as well. So like
That's
I read the survivors of domestic violence stuff, and then there was this whole massive message about welcome to the company, and it's beautiful. It's really lovely about saying all this great stuff about me. But yeah, I kind of like missed when
That's
people say
okay.
great things about me. I only zoom in on that.
Oh wow, me? Who me? When? Why? Yes, I know.
So I missed. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that we've been living in Queensland for 3 months, and Tyler got his first speeding fine.
Oh, Tyler. What zone was it, and how much was he doing?
He was doing 10 Ks over, less than 10 Ks over. Sorry, it was only 183 in one point. But I was like, oh my God, because I thought it would have been me who would have got the first speeding fine for sure.
So what was he doing? 103.
No, sorry, less than 100, but more than 80 or something. Less than 10 Ks over the limit.
Right. It was in
more
an
than
80
5
zone.
Ks or something. Yeah, he was doing. I know it was a 70 zone, and I think he was doing 79 or something.
That can be tricky. Those 70 zones. Why do they even exist?
I know, right? So, but it was also the day that he found out he went to get tested for COVID after we'd had a massive boozy night out on the Saturday night with my parents, and he wanted to go home because he wasn't feeling well. But he was also hungover from Blissonessa. Remember, we went to Blissonessa that for, and I was like, "You're just hungover, you'll be fine. Just have another drink." And I was enjoying myself with my parents, and then he woke up on Sunday even sicker than the night before. And
this is when he got COVID, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's like, "I think I've got COVID. I'm not hungover anymore. I think I've got COVID." I was like, "Oh, you don't have COVID," and then he did.
You're just being a prima donna.
I'm a delight to be in a relationship with, aren't I?
Look, Vinny is the worst person to get sick, and I'm not really the most sympathetic. But if I get any sort of sickness, even if it's a little bit, Vinny is like Nurse Florence Nightingale.
Yeah, well, look, we both know how sick I have been last year, and Tyler has doted on me. Like, to the point giving me like full-time carers, had to change my wounds with fucking gauze and yeah, like he loves it. Like, he doesn't love it, but he certainly stepped up. Whereas I don't know if I could have stomached that if it was me. I don't know if I could have done it. I would have been like ringing someone going, "Can you go and help me?"
I do it because it's Vinny. Like if it was for Vinny, for someone else, so I'd be like, no can do.
Yeah.
And that's how we repay them. You're not sick, you're just hungover. It's Delta. Bitch.
And then I got sick too.
Yeah.
I was so sick.
You're like, baby, you were nowhere near as sick as I am.
I was so unsympathetic when he was sick. And then I got sick and I was like, it's really bad.
Tyler, you don't understand. It's like really bad.
I know.
Oh dear.
So that was our week. That was our crazy full-on week. You were, just totally knocked off your socks with the floods out of nowhere.
Oh, that sucked. But we'll get into our expedition to Eurovision Australia in our next episode with What's the Haps, where we can do a full
and about our crazy weekend away that we went live. And so if you haven't seen our live videos, please do, because I think they're hilarious. There's 3.
Three.
I can't stop watching them. I just think it's a crack up, and we start off sober, and then we get drunker and drunker as the night goes on.
So who's going first? I can't remember. I think you went first with your musical, didn't you? Yes.
I think I did. So it's your turn. You go first.
Yes. All right. So as we said, we're going back in time to the 90s, a decade of grunge and what else was massive? Grunge was definitely, and that was one of my favorite fucking fashion statements, because I'd also just left school mid-90s when grunge was coming in, and it meant I didn't have to do any washing, including my hair. I could wear holy clothes, as in clothes with holes in them around, and that was all just cool. It was great for the lazy stoner that I was back then. But anyway, another fad that took off in the 90s that I was delighted about was bleached tips, or should I say frosted tips. Which
if I had $1 for every photo that I have of people with bleach tips, but bleach tips went well into the 2000s too. It didn't just stay in the 90s. It kept going for yonks and
It
yonks.
started in the 90s, so, and yeah, it did continued into the 2000s with people like Zac Efron did the tips, Guy Fieri. Do you remember that guy?
My brother-in-law and my cousin both had matching tips at one time.
I could see Aaron with tips. And Stephen Bradbury, of course, was the 2000 tip, frosted tip. Do you remember him? The guy who won the...
the dude who won by default. Yeah, of course. Legend. What a legend. I love him.
But I personally loved it when bleached hair became a thing because, as you would have seen from some of my childhood photos, I got a ton of shit for the snow white hair that I had as a child. It's a bit darker, a bit blonder now, but it used to be literally snow
Still
white.
Very light.
It was white as an A4 page of paper.
But you know what? The fact, like, you can hide you going grey too. I don't even know if you are going grey. I certainly am going grey. My grey is redonkulous. But you can hide that because you are so fair and your hair is so fair that the greys are just going to fucking blend into that shit.
No, I haven't seen any yet. I'll post a picture of when I was at my mum and stepfather's wedding of the...
I love all those old photos of you where you're super blonde. Can you please post heaps
just
of
so
them?
people have an idea.
So just do a flashback Beano. Just once a week. Just post something from the trenches.
This is me now. But yeah, it was fucking white, and that's where the name Beano came from. So obviously, yes, you'd know it's short for albino. And I hated the nickname.
Did you hate the nicknames? I've called you that for decades.
When I was in high school, I hated it because it was more of a teasy thing. And then I just remember at the end of grade 12, do you remember when we'd all get our jerseys? You could order in the school jersey. And you could get whatever name you wanted on the back. And I thought, okay, it's time to embrace it. So I just got Beano put on the back of that. And from then, it's like Beano is fine to me. But I used to also get told by hairdressers all the time that how women would pay a lot of money to have hair like mine or have hair my color, but I just wanted it to be a different color. I remember I was over it.
Did you ever dye it? Did you ever dye it black? I thought you did one time.
I didn't dye it black, but I remember this is in 1992. So I remember being at the hairdressers.
I didn't know you then.
No. So I was at the hairdressers and I'd said to him, the same one who used to tell me women would kill for my hair color. And I'd said to her I wanted to dye it. So she gave me this little vial of hair dye. There was like I should have known from the start it wasn't a good idea. It was in a little plastic bottle that looked like those ones that were filled with sherbet. Do you remember those?
Yes.
Bottles?
Yeah, I know.
And it was called hazelnut.
Talking about the 90s.
Talking about the 90s. And it was called hazelnut. This was also in the 90s. And I remember going home and I put this hazelnut shampoo through my hair. And when I, not shampoo, the hazelnut dye, and then when I let it sit and then took my hair off, my hair was purple. I had no red.
Cool. Did you take photos?
No. And again, we didn't have iPhones or anything like that. My hair was purple, and because I have no red pigment in my hair, there was nothing for the color to hold on to. So it just went purple. That's why I didn't go brown.
Stop it.
And I remember I washed my hair, I would say because it was meant to be a washout dye. I washed my hair probably about 30 times that day. And I kind of got it back to a normal sort of color. And then I remember going to school after picking up Matt from his house, and we're walking to school. And as soon as we got into the sunlight, he looked at my head and he just went, "What the fuck have you done?" So when he looked at my hair now, it looked like a purple rinse that the old ladies had put through their hair.
Stop it.
And we went to Alex Hills High where you couldn't dye your hair, you couldn't do anything.
Dye your hair.
And I remember Miss Todd Hunter walked into our English class and she was like, "What's going on here?" And I was like, "Tried to do a hazelnut hair color, blah, blah, blah." And she goes, "Yeah, I think this is punishment enough. You know, I didn't get detention or anything because it was punishment enough to be fucking walking around with purple hair."
She was so kind. I got suspended for 3 weeks for basically doing the same thing where a red dye I put into my blonde hair, which was supposed to be a rinse, and it went pink and I couldn't get it out. And I had to go to the hairdresser, and Mum didn't have the money back then to spend like $200 to get it bleached.
Strict,
and they suspended me. I was suspended for 3 weeks.
Yeah, no, Miss Todd Hunter loved me. And my name went from Beano to Ribena Berry. for that period of time as well.
Oh my
And I also
God.
remember doing, it was actually 93 because I was in grade 11. I remember doing art and it must have been 92. Anyway, I remember doing art and then they called upon a life we had to do life drawing and the teacher made me sit up on a chair on a table with my purple hair while everyone fucking drew me. It was fucking terrible.
You would not get away with that in this day and age.
I know,
Kids
right?
would like complain to their parents, and their parents would be reading this book going, "You put my
That's
child on
abuse.
display, how dare you?"
So when
Oh
when
God.
frosted tips came in, I was like, oh, thank God. People, cool kids all over everywhere were dyeing their hair blonde and tipping it with, you know, just the blonde tips on it. So I was delighted when that became a fad. But they were made
But
famous.
you didn't actually tip your hair, did you?
Oh no, no. Well, what was I going to tip it?
You just like rolled them into those little pointy bits, didn't you? I remember you used to have your hair rolled into those little pointy bits all over. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was back in our old clubbing days. When
Oh
you used
God.
to wear your hair like that.
So some of the people of the famous people that we know that rocked the bleach tipped or the frosted tip and helped make them famous is Justin Timberlake. Do you remember Mark McGrath from Sugar Ray?
I loved him.
Remember his frosted tips? He had the real black hair, but with the frosted.
He had that song up on the, what was this one?
Yes.
I remember
Every
Jodie was
morning.
obsessed. That's it.
He was cool. He was cute. And Pacey, do you remember Pacey from Dawson's Creek?
Love Pacey.
When he was in Cruel Intentions as the gay guy, and he had frosted tips in that too.
Yes,
I was like, I've really come into my own now. And of course, as I was saying before, it carried on into the noughties with a few other guys, but it's kind of died out now, hasn't it? Or if it is, it's more of a subtle frosted tip.
Do you mean are you asking the question, has frosted tips died out?
Yeah.
I think absolutely. I think it's done. I
Until,
certainly haven't seen it floating around until it becomes cool again, like mullets
exactly.
become cool.
Yeah, I was going to say in 20 years it'll come back. Who do you remember as a frosted tip wearer, like famously, that really set it up?
Sugar Ray, definitely. That would have been one that I would have jumped on. I can't really think about. Yeah, I can't. Totally. No, it wasn't really my type. But you remember the whole eyebrow ring look like that? The frosted tip and the eyebrow ring just goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well,
that's what I remember from
Pete Davidson kind of, not tips as such, but he sort of frosts his hair, doesn't he?
Oh, you mean Kim Kardashian's Pete Davidson?
Yeah.
He does also. He sometimes has blue hair. He sometimes has pink hair. He does all sorts of stuff going on. Love everything he does. You know this. We talked about this the other week about how much I love Pete Davidson. Don't understand his connection with Kim, but anyway. I
have seen pictures of him lately where I've actually sort of recanted on he's okay, but not for me. There are some pictures I'm like, damn. Especially when he has like a baseball cap on, where he's a bit more fuller in the face as well, I think. Yeah.
But he's just got that way about him that I think is super sexy. It's not so much his look. Like, I love his look, but it's more about, I love a funny man. And I talked about this before. I love a unique look. I love a funny man. Yeah. Love people who are funny. Love them.
So we get on so damn well, bitch.
Yeah. Totally. But I have so many things to talk about in mine. So what's your next thing?
All right. So the next fad, and look, as we both know, there was so many to choose from, and we wanted to try and not get music, TV, fashion influence into this one because they're their own segments in themselves, really. But do you remember Furbies?
Oh my God, yes, but I never actually had one. I had a Tamagotchi, but not a Furby.
I was the exact same. I had a Tamagotchi. I didn't have a Furby. My Tamagotchi was a silver egg, and I wish I knew where it was now, the poor thing. Do you remember the noise it used to make? Shit like that. And
do you really think it's somewhere? Do you think you have it somewhere?
No, I think I lost it in London with my Nintendo 64 and my Game Boy, which I'm devastated about. But I remember turning on the Tamagotchi after a couple of days and there just being all these poo piles around in the poor fucking thing. And they evolved and shit too, didn't they?
Poor Tamagotchi.
I know. But yeah, no, I never had a Furby. I don't know if I really wanted one. I never really got the urge for one, but I did want, and they weren't in the 90s, they were the 80s, was a Teddy Ruxpin.
They freaked me out. They super freaked me out, man.
Yeah, South Park's done a good episode of them where they take over the world, basically. But do you remember Teddy Ruxpin?
I had Baby Talk, which was the girls' version of it. So there was Teddy Ruxpin, then there was Baby Talk, and I got it for Christmas when I just watched Chucky, and Mum and Dad thought I would be in love with it, and I literally hated it, and they could never understand why I hated this doll. I just put it in the cupboard
what a play.
for the night time, and she was blonde, but she was very, very similar in look. And I used to put her in the cupboard every night when I went to sleep. And because it was batteries and it was the fucking 90s, sometimes she'd turn on and off and stuff like that. And she'd start talking for no reason. I was absolutely terrified of her. And Mum and Dad were like, why do you hate her? We spent all this money, and she would have been expensive at the time. And they were like, and they would come in the morning and see her in the cupboard and be like, what the fuck? Why is she in the cupboard, man? I'm like,
that costs us good money. You will fucking learn to love her.
I hated her guts, and I wanted her gone from my life.
Well, I really wanted a Teddy Ruxpin so bad for Christmas too. I think I was 10, which was probably a bit too old for a Teddy Ruxpin, but I just wanted this Teddy that moved its arms, opened its mouth when you put a cassette in the back of it. I didn't get it, and I was devastated. I think I even found a stash of presents in Mum and Dad's study.
They were very expensive, like ridiculously expensive back in the day.
I think they were like $100 back then. Like, it was a lot of money. But yeah, I remember going into the Mum and Dad's study, and we found the Christmas presents, and I was positive I saw a case that resembled a Teddy Ruxpin. I thought I was getting it for sure.
The old search for Christmas presents and then ending up being disappointed on Christmas
and I was
Day.
Like, did you give it to someone else? What's going on? I don't understand. But Furbies, as you'll remember, they were like a learn-as-you-go robotic owl-looking motherfucker. Like, it started when you got them, they would talk in their own gibberish, and they would replace those with English, with the language that it learnt through the owner and stuff. It was a huge hot toy for Christmas in the late 90s. Over 40 million of the toy were sold while it was still in production, and 14 million of them taking place alone in 99. Seemed like a toy that you would get over pretty quickly, though, I found. Like Tickle Me Elmo, which was also massive in the 90s and sold out everywhere. But I reckon after a day of like tickling Elmo with that, you'd just be a bit sticking with dolls, troll dolls. Now, you must remember
I didn't even think of troll dolls.
Those naked little cute-faced fuckers with wild-coloured hair that were meant to sit on your pencil, but everyone just went mad for them, if you remember. And you used to get them from shops like Granny May's and those sort of adult
Granny May's. I forgot about Granny May's.
I fucking loved Granny May's. And I had one. When I finally ended up getting one, I got one that had half black hair and half white hair on the top, even though they used to come in the most elaborate colours and high-vis colours.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't go for a crazy colour. That surprises me.
I went black and white just because I was going through a real yin and yang phase at the time. Like, I was obsessed with yin and yang and what it all meant. So, you know, the black and white circle with the dot in each. You know, yin and yang, yeah.
I still love yin and yang to this day. I've got like 2 yin and yang pictures in my house.
Love it. How like the black has the dot of the white to show that there's always a bit of good and evil and a bit of evil and good. And
yeah, love it.
Yeah. So that's why I went with that troll doll. But do you know rare dolls still sell up to $500 on eBay today? Some of the rarer coloured ones. Rare
trolls.
Troll dolls, yeah.
And then they made that dumb movie, remember?
Yes, with Justin Timberlake. Getting a double mention tonight, JT. Thanks for listening, JT. Long time
kids love it, but they didn't know trolls. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was completely different. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were very similar to the Beanie Baby fad that also exploded.
Yes,
in the 90s by T-White Inc., I think it was. And the company was really clever with their marketing because they built on the fad by limiting their supply and under-delivering to stores of the Beanie Babies. And they also would purposely discontinue any with the products.
Like the PlayStation 5.
What's that?
Like the PlayStation 5.
Wow.
Well, it was supposed to come out last Christmas, not Christmas, the Christmas before that, and you can't get it. Started
Oh,
back ordering everywhere. I think COVID's impacted that. Yeah.
oh, maybe. Jesus. Yeah, that's annoying.
Mm.
Especially for Link, he must be going beside himself waiting for one. Or does he have
No,
one?
he's an Xbox man. It's Tyler who wants to play.
Oh, okay.
So you can get it. I think you can get it, but you're paying like $1,000 for it or some ridiculous price because there's limited amounts that you can get. So it's yeah.
It's a wait until you get the PlayStation 6, which will come out soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they would do that under delivery, and then they'd purposely discontinue any of the popular Beanie Babies to generate more interest in their rarity and shit. So it's quite clever.
Quite a clever marketing model.
Yeah. Like they had fan clubs, websites, magazines developed for the collectors. And at one stage, especially in the 90s, it was considered like a financial investment collecting Beanie Babies.
Would you still be friends with me if I was a Beanie Baby collector?
Yeah. There's
that's not a non-negotiable for you. Okay.
There'd have to be.
Good to know where we stand.
It'd have to be a lot worse for me to not be your friend than collecting Beanie Babies.
I love you.
But the thing with Beanie Babies now, because the interest is considerably waned, they're not fetching the price they once would have back in the day.
I could have predicted that.
Did you have a Beanie Baby?
Look, I think maybe I might have had one or two through the times, but I was never really one for stuffed animals. I was never really one for, once I got to a certain age, toys were like, for me.
Yeah.
And I think the Beanie Baby phase came in maybe when I was about 15-ish, maybe, or maybe a little bit younger.
Yeah.
So I was a bit done with that by then.
I think my first time that I got a Beanie Baby was probably in like 1999 or 2000. And that was a gift from someone. And it was a black thing. I keep thinking it's got like a duck or something. Can't remember. But yeah, I don't know what
that is. I've got a duck image in my head because I think my sister had a couple. I think.
Yeah, but God knows where it is now.
Yeah.
And my
final... It's not somewhere with your Tamagotchi.
It could be with my Tamagotchi. Covered in shit. Covered in fucking little electric poo. Now, my final discussion for the 90s is Pokemon. Born in the 90s, still huge today. That just goes to show, that's 30 years. And as we know, the 90s saw a burst in collectible trading games. Do you remember Pogs? P-O-G-S, those little caps?
My whole wardrobe in my bedroom, I had a double sliding door situation going on, and I had the Tazos. No, it wasn't Pogs. It's Tazos. What I'm talking about.
Yes,
I had them lined up. Yeah, lined up in order, so I collected them, and they used to be numbered as well. And I had them all lined up, and I had hundreds of them. And I was about 20 because a guy that I dated at the time, I actually might have been a little bit younger. A guy that I dated at the time, he was obsessed with collecting them. And we only dated when I was like between 17 and 19, I think. And he was obsessed with them. He collected them. And then I started collecting them because he collected them, I guess. And I had, them lined up. And God knows what happened to them.
Well, today,
in the bin.
I've got folders with the sleeves that you put trading cards in. And I know I've got the full set of the Lion King cards. And I think Batman Returns. And I've got a couple of rare things from that too. They're just still squirreled away. And I actually have them.
To show Tyler the Batman Returns. He'll get a kick out of that. You'll have to show him next time we're over.
Oh, well. Batman Returns. Hang on. Which ones? No, Batman Forever.
I was going to say it wouldn't be Batman Returns, would it?
Yeah, no, Batman Forever. It was. The one with
Which was the Chris O'Donnell and Uma Thurman was the Poison Ivy in.
That was Batman and Robin.
And it was George Clooney.
That's Batman and Robin.
it was one of the George Clooney. Batman Forever still had George Clooney though, didn't it?
No, Val Kilmer.
Tyler's yelling at me from the lounge room.
What's that about Batman?
Yes. No, we're talking about Batman Forever. But I'm trying to decide which actors were in it, but Bino has just said I was wrong. It was Val Kilmer.
It was Val Kilmer and Two-Face and was in it, and Jim Carrey was the Riddler.
Yeah. I know a lot about Batman because there's a new one with Robert Pattinson in it. And,
The Batman.
I have to go and see it when it comes out, I think next week or the week after.
I don't think it'll be that bad. It might be pretty good. It's got some...
Apparently it's got amazing ratings, but when you watch the trailer, it looks absolutely shite. And he looks horrible in it. And I'm not a big fan of Robert Pattinson.
I'm not sure how he's going to pull off a Batman, yeah.
Apparently he's excellent. Because Tyler didn't want to watch it because he loves Batman, but he doesn't like Robert Pattinson. And he was like,
okay.
But he'll still see it anyway because he's a fan
pretty good.
of the Batman series. But then he said to me, oh, the reviews are amazing for it, apparently.
All right. But yeah, back to your Tazos. I thought they were Pogs, but you're right. Well, they are Pogs, but Tazos were the ones you got free in the pack of Doritos, weren't they?
Yeah, there was Pogs too, but I can't remember where Pogs played into that. I can't remember properly.
Yeah, I think Tazos was the one that Doritos sort of did because they had Tassie Devil on them, didn't they? And stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes, they did. And Sylvester, all the Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes, that's right.
And then they had the Simpsons. I think they brought out the Simpsons on them as well. So they started with the Looney Tunes, and then they went into the Simpsons, and I think eventually a couple of others. I can't remember though.
And then just stopped.
So old. It was such a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, the big one that took off and is still going strong is Pokemon. So it started off as a trading card game where they'd battle and shit like that, and then it turned into the handheld Game Boy game, and then from that it just kept going on and on. Like you've got toys, cartoons, books.
Clothing. Oh, Pokemon Go! I was caught up in the Pokemon Go. We both were caught up. I still
play Pokemon Go.
I still do it daily. Child at the time. Daily, you still do it daily.
Yeah, I'll go on there, check, have a look.
Occasionally, if Link and I are bored and we're somewhere and we've got nothing to do, we'll go. Let's download Pokemon Go and play Pokemon Go for a bit. Like that. You must have new Pokemons
pop up all the time that you log on to.
When we play it, we get smashed with them. But there was a time when I would drop Link at school and I would go play Pokemon on my days off on my own because I was that obsessed with getting all the extra balls and all the.
But you lived in an area at the time that had no Pokestops or Pokemon around you, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you
caught the trains and stuff.
Even here at our thing, I've got. When I log on from here, there's 3 Pokestops, there's gyms around me, there's always Pokemon.
They've increased how many they are now, Pokestops.
And plus there's
way more.
You were out in the suburbs as well, so I think they sort of get a bit fewer and far between.
But I'd go down to Wellington Point and walk around playing.
And get a Pokemon.
Yeah, for like hours. I'd drop Link off at school, go and play it, and before I knew it, it was time to go pick him up again. I'm like, what have I done with my whole day?
Mummy's
just walked around playing Pokemon. And I'd pick Link up and I'd be like, guess what I caught today?
I got me a Kangaskhan.
Balls. Yeah, I got all these balls. And he'd be like, Mum, why do you have so many balls? And I'm like, I went down to Wellington Point while you were at school.
Give me a phone next time.
I'm an adult. I can do what I
want. You'll get there one day, kid. But yeah, so the Pokemon, it sparked. There's 24 seasons of the cartoon show. I don't know if you know that. That's a fucking lot.
I know there's a lot because Link made me download them one time. Again, because he was obsessed. Even before Pokemon Go, he had a massive. It was probably a good couple of maybe 3 or 4 years where I was obsessed with Pokemon. We had every single movie on DVD.
Oh, he used to play them on Game Boy. And that's when you came to New Zealand. Will you read this for me, Mum? Will you read this for me? Yeah.
It was all the Pokemon games. He was obsessed with them. So Pokemon has been a big part of my life for a long, long time.
For many years. Well, there's 23 various movies on them, and there's also around 23 games.
I was going to say, there's so many movies. I have seen so many Pokemon movies, and like it gets to the point where you're like, come on.
Yeah, because they're all the cartoon ones, but now they're going into the sort of Pixar-y animation-y type ones as well.
Well, I loved the Pokemon where
Pikachu Detective.
I love Pikachu Detective because they were real life Pokemon,
and they were cute.
And they were so cute. And you just wanted to like live there. And we watched it. I was like, I just want them for myself. What was the Squirtles? Oh,
are they your favorite?
Yes.
Yeah,
love them.
I always liked Bulbasaur, and
I love Bulbasaur too.
I love Gengar as well.
Which one's Gengar?
He's the sort of ghost demon one. He starts off as a ghastly ball.
Yes,
then he becomes that purple guy.
Yeah. There's heaps of cute ones though. Heaps and heaps.
There
are,
and they keep getting more cuter. as they release
Yeah.
more. So what's your 90s spectacular that you have for us?
All right, I'm just going to get straight into it. Let's talk about the food of the 90s. Let's talk about what we used to eat at school. And also, for people who are outside of Australia who are listening, please comment and tell us if you listen to this podcast. But did you guys used to? Well, they didn't, because they have
canteens.
They have diners, like dinner meals and stuff. So they get food provided to them. But we used to have to take a brown paper bag.
This is primary school for little lunch and big lunch. That was the most amazing thing. And can I just quickly say too that food in the schools in the 90s is a lot different to food in schools these days.
Well, I'm going to go there, but let's talk about the brown paper bag first of all.
Yes,
for people
that was
who
the
don't
best.
know.
If you got a brown paper bag delivery, you were fucking a very lucky child.
Especially in winter. Do you remember when it was cold and you'd get, I grew up in New South Wales, so it was much colder than it was in Queensland, but I remember when it was cold and you'd see the tubby thing come to the classroom with the brown paper
They
bags
used to do ours in a laundry tub. They'd bring it in a laundry basket. Yeah. And
you'd see the brown paper and you'd smell the smells of all the food coming in, and when it was cold, you'd be like, oh my God, I've got a pie for lunch today.
Yeah. And we used to get little pies as well. You get like baby pies or big pies.
Yeah.
You'd have to write the order on the paper bag with the money.
And your name and your class.
And then money as well, how much it costs for each item.
And how much money.
And you'd give in the bag with the money in it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And then they'd bring your bag. Your bag would get delivered with your food in it with the money taken out of it. Yeah. Good times.
Good times.
But that's probably something incredibly Australian and that no other country does, because, different school systems and well, they did it up until Link was in about grade 4 or grade 5, because I had to get brown paper bags and send them to school.
And it was a way to keep the little kids out of the tuck shop lines from getting bullied or cut in front of and stuff.
And to do pre-stuff and plan and stuff like that, and not have this many parents staffed and whatever. But anyway, I thought we'd touch on that. But let's talk about some of the foods, which you were talking about foods being very different. And look, I totally agree, because Luke came home yesterday and said, oh my God, Mum, I had the most amazing sushi bowl that I've ever had in my life at school today. And it had karashi chicken in it.
Oh, Jesus.
And he couldn't stop talking about it. It cost $6. But he also regularly eats riblet rolls. Do you remember the pork riblet rolls?
I remember them from Macca's.
No, they used to have them at school. Well, we didn't really have the rolls, I think, at the Alex Hill's tuck shop. We used to just have them in a little paper thing, and they were like saucy.
Yeah.
And they looked like a rib, like they had like little weird
divots
things
in it.
on them. Yeah, divots. Yeah. And they were delicious.
Yeah.
So delicious. I remember my sister used to eat them all the time. She was obsessed. She loved them. And then you got, your old-fashioned chicken burgers. That was just like
and that's the stuff they don't do anymore. It's because you'd have pizza day. You'd all get it. Remember, square of pizza, and you used to get cottage pies, and I just used to even get a cream bun for lunch.
Yes, sometimes. Cream buns. Oh my God! I used to be obsessed with carob buns. Do you remember this? They were little choc buns. And they were carob, and I love them. And you can't get them anywhere. Like, I've tried at every single health store imaginable. Like, I just want those carob buns that they used to sell in the school canteens.
I don't think I like the carob buns.
I love them. Love them. I would totally eat carob now, but you can't get any good carob. It's always got nuts or goji berries or some shit in it. It's not just like plain carob. And eucalyptus drops. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah. 20 cents a bag.
Packets
and it had the Australia made thing on the front, the little Australian made logo. They were great. And they were such a shit lolly when you think about it.
I would still, if I'm at the servo and I see a packet of those bad boys, I will grab a packet any fucking day and eat the whole packet. I love them.
Eucalyptus drops and red frogs were huge.
Of course, I could still
never the green. Never the green, but always the red.
They didn't really sell the green anymore, but at Lynx Basketball on the Central Coast, they used to sell red frogs, and at football. I used to always grab a couple of bags of red frogs every time I went to the game.
Yeah, they're good. But yeah, there was no policing about what you ate when you went to especially in high school with tuck shop. Like, you could line up and get a fucking cream bun and a jam donut as your lunch, and no one gave a shit.
Yeah,
I don't think you can get away with that today.
Yeah, as well. No one gave a shit. Okay, so another thing, do you remember book club?
Mm-hmm. Mm. Is that when you'd get the catalogue and you'd flick
The
through
catalogue.
and you'd pick the books you wanted, and then you'd wait patiently for the
Yes.
day that the books got delivered? And you were,
Yes. But if you were like me, my parents back in the day didn't have a lot of money, as most families did back when we were growing up. It was a
no,
very
we didn't
different
have much.
economic climate. So most families didn't, unless you were super rich, most families didn't have a lot that was left over at the end of the week after they paid the bills and fed the kids
This is
and
so
everything
true.
like that.
Interest rates were 19%, for fuck's sake, on houses.
So I used to sit there and read, and I was a massive reader. I love my books.
Me
and
too.
I'd read through the catalogue and just have a list, and I could take it to mum, and I'd draw all these numbers and circle all these things. And she'd be like, "Oh, darling, not this week."
You get
like,
one.
Oh, God. And every now and then she'd have the money. When they had the money, she would get them for me. And I remember and I remember the kids that got a book every week too, and I'd be like,
it was never fair. It wasn't a weekly thing when I was at primary school.
Sorry, like every month. It was like once a month or something.
And but they always had the best books, like the pop-up books, or the ones where you'd color them in and it'd change color or shit. They always had the novelty books as well as the great
talking
books.
About stuff that still stood the test of time, and I was saying that the Riblet Roll's still around for Link's canteen. Well, when Link was in primary school, they used to send the book clubs home, and it's evolved now. So they've got like 3 or 4 different catalogs. So there's the Lucky for the older kids, and then there's a couple of junior book clubs. So I used to get 4 catalogs every month. And I'd sit there and I would buy, me and my books, especially when Link was little. I used to read to him constantly. So I'd spend like probably $100 a month on books in that book club for Link when he was younger. I loved it. And when I'd pick him up from school and he'd walk out with the catalogs in his hands, I'd be like, give it to mummy, give it to mummy.
That was the best day when the books did arrive there, wasn't it? And you had one.
I know.
But yeah, you're right. There was always some fucker in this class that had fucking a shit ton of
a book every month. Yeah.
And
I'd be like, I want a book. Can I read your book? Can I look at your book? Can I touch your book?
And going back to when you were saying about how you used to read to Link a lot, he also did read to you on occasion. You were laying in bed next to him one time, you're like, read Mama a book, darling, and pat my hair.
Mummy's had a few too many wine. It's your turn to read a book. And say, okay, Mummy. And I think that one time we were reading Harry Potter. So he was reading Harry Potter to me. He's like, I'll read to you, Mummy. Bless his little heart.
He did.
My beautiful little boy.
He is beautiful.
So, all right, I'm going to jump ahead to a little bit of high school stuff now. If I can get my dumb mouse to work. So, do you remember the myth or the urban legend that existed when we were in high school, where if talking about recently how kids get out of school for so many things, and it's a different time, we know that. But back in the day, we never got sent home because there was floods. We never got sent home because there was heavy rain. We never had a day off of school. We did have a bomb warning, but they didn't send us home.
No. They put you at the Oval in the heat.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's for your own protection.
You kids aren't going home. You're not going anywhere.
There was no sunscreen provided.
But there was the myth that if it ever got to 40 degrees heat in Queensland, you would go home and it was too hot for school to go on. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
But I remember that everyone used to say once it got to 40 degrees, and it very rarely got to 40 degrees. Like, it doesn't really get to 40 degrees ever. But I remember we'd walk into the demountables, we'd walk into maths, I was going to say maths A, but I think maths A was a clever maths. I was in the dummy maths. And we'd walk into it and I'd be like, Miss, I reckon it's 40 degrees. Can you check? Have you got a thermometer? Can you check how hot it is? Shouldn't we be going home? And we just hassle the teacher all lesson. Every lesson, it'd be like, come on, sir. It must be 40 degrees. We're all really hot.
It's fucking 20 degrees. Shut up. We've got a long way to go.
Isn't it the law? Isn't it the law that you have to let us go
abuse.
20 degrees?
Abuse.
Yeah. That's exactly what we used to do. God, we were horrible.
I think kids are still just as horrible today in school.
Just in a different way,
just
right?
as tormenting to teachers anyway.
Yeah, that's it. Do you remember pen licenses?
No.
In primary school, when you got upgraded from writing in in pencil, and then you were finally allowed to write in biro after you'd done so many different like tests and prove that you're writing. I never got my pen license ever. My writing was always so bad. My teachers used to say to me that I used to write like, now you couldn't get away with this, but they used to say to me, I was trying to write like a boy. You have terrible handwriting. And I remember like every time Mum and Dad used to go to school and have the occasional school meeting, because you didn't really have them back then either, but once or twice they went to school for some reason.
P&C committee or a teacher interview?
Oh, my parents were never involved in that. But the 1 or 2 times they went for some parent meeting, the teachers always said to them, her handwriting is terrible. You need to, and they brought me handwriting books and I wouldn't do it. And I to this day, my handwriting is atrocious, so I never got my pen license.
We never had a pen license at school. I remember because I went
it was
to
grade six and 7. Grade 5 you got them, I think.
Well, I went to Villanova in grade 5 and 6, and we still wrote in pencil there. And then I remember when I came to grade 7 at Birkdale South, they were writing in pen, and I just still kept writing in pencil until the teacher said to me, you need to stop writing in pencil and start writing in pen.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time to graduate to the biro.
But I can't rub that out.
Okay, so I'm going to say another one. What about Dolomites? Were you in Dolomites?
Yeah. Commonwealth Bank Dolomites account?
Yes, I never had Dolomites account. Mum used to say to me, there's too many fees. You're just going to lose your money.
I think I had one when it started, and I think I ended up with about $7 in it, and that was it.
They had to, like, your parents had to bank money every week or however long the bank people, I don't know how, I can't remember.
I think it was a weekly thing. Yes. And they'd take the money and you'd give it to them and they'd bank it for you.
And they'd give you a slip and they taught you about, doing deposit slips and stuff like that. And I used to watch the kids do it and I'd be like, I want to bank some money. I mean, money to bank.
And you got your little loan thingy. I think it was in grade 7 I did mine.
And you got a piggy bank as well. Remember, you got the Dolomite piggy bank. I think you got a shirt as well for being a Dolomite.
Because they were like little alien.
I wanted that shirt.
Yeah, and it was a yellow fucking checkbook thing. Yeah,
I remember.
I do remember the Dolomites. Jesus.
Scratch and sniff stickers. Do you remember?
Yes.
Scratch and sniff.
Yes.
You still get them now, but still, they were a massive novelty when we were growing up.
Because they were new. And you'd get things that smell like tutti frutti, or you'd get ones that smell like a donut.
And do you remember the phase around collecting rubbers? My cousin Tracy was really into it, and they were all the miniature, like you'd have a detergent and an ice cream,
or a shopping bag or anything.
Yeah. And my cousin Tracy had like these cases, and she had all these little rubbers in them, and they were all different. But she had them because she had a part-time job. She was 10 years older than me, and I used to always, every time I saw her, I was like, oh, she's just so cool. Everything she does is amazing.
Money. I bet she's got her own Dolomite account.
What else was it? What about the life education van? Do you remember that one?
With the giraffe, Harold the giraffe.
With the giraffe, Healthy Harold, and the first time any boys had seen boobs.
And you'd watch it. I
remember the mannequin with the boobs on.
Yeah, and they used to
the
show
boys
you
would all get red faced.
And they used to show you the food tracking down and how food became poo.
It was very informative. I used to love the life education, man.
Speaking of when boys would get very red faced, I remember also in grade 4 getting in serious trouble with a guy named Jay because we were talking about, I think we were doing geography, and they were talking about routes from A to B. And every time the teacher said route, we just kept pissing ourselves laughing. I remember this one chick putting her hand up because the teacher was trying to ignore us, but we just couldn't stop laughing. And I remember one chick putting her hand up and going, "Miss, I know why they're laughing." And she goes, "So do I. We're not addressing it."
So do I.
We're not addressing it.
That is the best story. Way to go, teacher.
So do I. But yeah, every time she said route.
This happens in every class with boys
every
his age.
Fucking year. And we take route A to B. She said it again. I might just say route.
And then once you get the giggles, you can't stop.
I cannot stop. Yeah, especially over something stupid like that.
All right, so a couple of last ones. Do you remember elastics and skipping?
Oh, I got my own set of double Dutch ropes from Jump Rope for Heart.
I'm
from the
laughing
money
so
I
hard at
raised.
that I'm crying.
From money I raised for Jump Rope for Heart. Yeah, I got double Dutch ropes. I remember when I first
Well, I'm
learned.
glad you say that because I also want to talk about 40-hour famine.
Oh, I did that too, but because you could eat barley sugar. But I remember when I first
Oh, the
mastered
barley sugar addiction that you had, and then they made you sick. And if you ever saw barley sugar ever again, you wanted to
You're
tell
like
yourself
that.
that I can't eat any more barley sugar, man.
That's all you could fucking eat was barley sugar, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember when I mastered the double Dutch jump rope. Did you ever do that?
Look,
You know what
I
double Dutch
recall
is?
being very good at it. And do you remember my birthday party that we had where we played all those games in the park and we did all the ropes? I remember I've got photos of you looking like a little bird jumping rope.
Were they single or double Dutch? Were they double Dutch?
No, I think it was just one rope, but we were very old. This was only like 5 years ago. So to jump in one rope was a lot of
hard
effort.
enough. That double Dutch thing, I remember you'd have to count 1, 2, 3, go. My mother said 2, count 2, 10. And you're both legs going.
And it was, remember, it was England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. No, this is elastics, inside, outside, inside, on.
I never played elastics. I always really wanted to.
Shocked.
I know, but it was a girls' game, even though I was able
Next time we get drunk, let's play elastics. I'll get some off eBay. You probably pay like 50 cents for them. I'll get some and we'll play it. Vinny you watch Vinny jump in too.
Yeah.
Watch me, lads.
Lads, look at me, I'm langers. But yeah, no, I always wanted to play elastics, but there was the fear of that being a girls' thing. Obviously, I didn't give a shit about that when it came to double Dutch. I'm like, bitch.
Well, I was going to say, wasn't jumping rope back in those times more of a girls' game too?
It was, but you know, like they had Jump Rope for Heart, so that was sort of a big fundraiser where everyone would do it.
And much more acceptable. Yes.
What was Jump Rope for Heart? You had to jump for like 10 hours straight or something.
No, I don't think it was 10 hours. That would kill a child. I think it was minutes because I actually brought some rope this week, some jump rope, because I was watching this video on Instagram, I think it was, but this chick who was showing her body transformation just from jumping rope 10 minutes a day for 3 days a week and how much she changed over 12 months.
And
because the
equivalent was it huge?
Of massive. And look, and who knows if that's true or not, you know, you can't really believe it.
But think about it, jumping rope for 10 minutes is a long time.
Well, I researched it, and 10 minutes of jumping rope is equivalent to 30 minutes running. So, but I mean, you and I couldn't start jumping rope and jump rope for 10 minutes in a row consecutively. We would literally
Speak for yourself, please. I did double Dutch in primary school.
We could maybe do a minute or two. I didn't even think we could do 2 minutes. And when I used to have a personal trainer many moons ago, she used to do jumping with me from time to time. We'd do like 30-second intervals and stuff like that. And even 30 seconds, they killed me. So you'd obviously build up to it, but I think it was minutes. The jump rope for heart is my point of saying that story.
Yeah, like it was probably a max of an
10-minute increments. Maybe if you could, exactly. You could do 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes or something.
And I remember you tagged out, like you had a group, and then one person would have to skip.
Oh yeah,
and then we would tag in and start skipping.
Yeah.
But no, I do remember jump rope for heart. And what was the last thing you said?
Oh, the 40-hour famine.
Oh yeah, God.
And we were only talking about that last night. It was only because I was putting all this together today that when I thought of jump rope for heart, it came up in one of the searches I was doing. I went, oh my God, the 40-hour famine. Sarah was just talking about it last night at dinner. Us doing it because Mum reckons we did it quite a few years. I don't remember doing it loads, but Mum reckons we did it for years and years.
I remember doing it for a few years because it was a big thing. It was like an annual big thing. Yeah.
I feel like we cheated a lot though too.
Oh yeah. Well, I did that with the 40-hour famine. Oh, we're talking about 40-hour famine. God, I went back to fucking jump rope for heart.
No, I feel like I didn't do 40 hours without first.
Yeah, no, I think I only did that once. And I remember seeing an ad on TV where it said, call now for your free video, rah, rah, rah. And I remember being like, and I think it was probably maybe 12, 13. And I called up. And then I got through and it said, yep, you're getting your free video, yada, yada. And I was that excited. I remember running downstairs and saying, I've just won a free video. I've just won a free video. And they were all excited for me. And then the video turned up and it was a 40-hour famine one. They're like, dude, what do you mean? You won a free video? I'm like, oh, I tried.
Sucker.
But I remember doing it. I think I lasted till about 30 hours and I ate a sandwich. And I wasn't even really hungry at the time. It was just the fact that he just couldn't do it. And I ate a sandwich, and I remember one of the chicks up the road denying me my fundraising money because, nah, you ate, I'm not paying you. It's like, fuck you, Stuart.
I just remember that I've always had an issue with getting hangry. If I don't eat on schedule, I lose my shit. So I don't imagine, as much as Mum reckons that we did it, because she was saying, I was like, oh no, he's always did it. He's always did it. He didn't cheat. And I was like, I don't know, Mum.
Unless
I
they
don't
just,
know if I could go 40 hours without food.
unless they were just doing they didn't have enough money in the budget for shopping for those 2 days. Like, oh, kids, 40-hour famine starts now. It's time.
But now you can do like 40 hours without exercise if you're an exercise junkie, or 40 hours without.
Sign me up.
I know, but
it's going to be tough.
Maths about the whole exercise thing. But anyway, we'll get to that. But you know, or 40 hours without smokes, or 40 hours without chocolate if you're
like a Lent type of thing.
Yeah. Sacrifice. You don't have to do the 40-hour famine. Anyway, I'm just going to leave you. There's two more things I want to touch on very quickly.
Yep.
The whole three versions of the Australian anthem. I went to Vienna Woods State School. And before that, Killarney Vale. I went to Vienna Woods from year 5 and 6, but before that I lived on the Central Coast. And when I got to Vienna Woods, I was shocked to find out there was more than one verse of the Australian anthem.
Yeah.
And at Vienna Woods, they did all three. So I quickly learned, because on parade you had to, and see again in New South Wales, it's Assembly. Up here in Queensland, it's parade.
Right, yes.
And I had to learn the whole three verses, and I was like, what the fuck? There's 2 more verses to go.
And you know they've changed the words from it now, from we are young and free to we are one and free.
Yes.
Because Australia's not a young country.
Yeah, it's not anymore. Yeah, that's right.
Well, yeah, it never was.
But before we close off, we've gone through most of my points that I think
I'm going to throw
important.
in one after yours, unless this is
the
your
last thing I'm going to say is heads down, thumbs up, baby.
Ah, yes. And
Best
you so
game
desperately
ever on a
wanted to be.
day.
You so desperately wanted to be tapped on the back, didn't you? So you could try and figure out who it was.
Yeah. And it used to always happen when it was raining, or at the end of school.
What a fucking great game. All right, everyone, heads down, thumbs up. A great game for the teachers, though.
Oh,
everyone.
Totally. I'm just stepping out for a bag.
Yeah, heads down, thumbs up. Marco, hello.
Yeah. The kids wouldn't have known shit. We were all too busy, you know. Heads
and
down,
then there was
thumbs
people
up.
that always peek and shit.
Yeah. Good times.
The other one that came into my head when you were talking about Assembly was Safety House.
Oh,
the safety houses with the yellow houses on there. And the only reason I remember it from Assembly is we had a
people used to have them on their letterboxes as well.
Yes.
The signs. This is a safety house, safe house.
If you feel weird, you can run into there. I remember, I think it was grade 7. They had a competition to write a safety house jingle or something about a safety house. And I wrote this one to the tune of Jingle Bells. And I was dead set certain I was going to win. And I just remember it goes, safety week, safety house, or safety week or something. Everybody knows, don't go into something places where strange people go, oh, safety week, got it?
God, you have an amazing memory. You remember so much more shit than I remember about stuff, like specific stuff about things.
Well, look, I didn't win and I was devastated. And then I put down to the only reason I didn't win is I thought an adult helped me because it was that good.
Is that what you thought?
That's what I told myself. But no, that was a fun trip down memory lane. I really enjoyed that.
Thanks for listening, you stupid bitches. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Stupid Bitches Say What.
Don't forget to rate and review us on Apple and Spotify. Follow our socials at Stupid B Say What. And if you like what you hear, please pass it on and tell your mates, especially you, Colorado, because you seem to be right up there. We love you for it. Good night, stupid bitches.
Love you, Colorado.
Bye.
Good night.
Yeah, that stupid bitch. He's a stupid bitch. What a stupid bitch. That's stupid.